بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم ومن تبعهم بإحسان يوم الدين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh and welcome back. Apologies for the long delay in continuing with the lessons. Inshallah, we will proceed with lesson 9 from the Madina Islamic University Arabic course, book 1. Inshallah, we will go through our learning outcomes. Inshallah, we're going to go through several grammatical rules, and we're going to focus a lot on the grammatical rules relating to the term na'at. And na'at, if you were to directly translate to English, it would be an adjective. And that's going to be something that will be very beneficial when you're reading any books, and certainly when you're reciting the Quran. As you will understand, you'll be able to derive meanings in the Quran, inshallah, and understand the meanings and why certain words are placed where they are. So we're going to focus on na'at man'ut a fair amount in this lesson, and we're going to learn the rules relating to na'at, which is the adjective, and the man'ut, which is the noun that it describes. And that's the way we have to understand it. So there's the adjective, which is na'at, and then there's the man'ut, which is the noun it describes. Okay, and there are certain specific rules relating to it in terms of gender, definitive, definite versus indefinite, and the i'rab, which is the ending. Then we're going to briefly talk about the special adjectives where rules don't necessarily apply, and those are the adjectives that don't have tanween at the end. We will go through them, inshallah. And then we will talk about alladhi, and we will talk about sentences using the word inda and ma'a. So starting off, so I'm just trying to understand na'at man'ut. Easiest way to understand is na'at is adjectives, and that is exactly what it is. However, the rules relating to it are very, very specific. And based on those rules, we can differentiate whether we're talking about an adjective here or we're talking about a mudaf ilayh here. So let's take, the best thing to do is to try and look at examples. Let's just take baytun kabirun, which means a big house. Now, the kabir here is the na'at. So usually the na'at follows the noun. And as you may have noticed, they are very, very similar in many aspects. This has tanween dhamma, so it's marfu'. This has tanween dhamma. This does not have alif lam, and this does not have alif lam. This is a muzakkar, which means it's masculine, because bayt is muzakkar, and kabir is also muzakkar. So they have to mirror each other in all these aspects. Let's take another example. Waladun saghirun. This means boy, small, so a small boy. So obviously small over here is the na'at, so saghir is the na'at, and that's describing the boy. And you can see waladun, saghirun. Both have tanween dhamma. Both are marfu'. You have no alif lam, you have no alif lam. You have masculine, you have masculine. Let's use some more examples. So as we said, they have to match. They have to match in terms of gender. So let's take them one at a time. So we had examples back there. Baytun, kabirun, masculine. Yes, fine. Let's think of a feminine one. Sayyaratun. So this is feminine. Car. Let's say a new car. Jadid. You won't say jadid. You'll say jadidatun. So feminine, feminine. They have to match. Similarly, darajatun, which we all remember, means bicycle. Same, it will be jadidatun, which means new. So the new bike, a new bike, not the new bike. Or you could say darajatun, which means bike. Broken, you won't say maksur, you will say maksuratun. So they have to mirror each other in terms of gender. Kitabun, book. Old. Qadimun. Okay, so they have to match in terms of gender. Wardatun. Wardatun, which means rose. Jamilatun. Wardatun. Jamilatun. And what we'll do is we'll probably, to make it easy, take these exact same examples and build upon them in terms of the other rules. Maidanun, which means a field. Fasihun. Which means spacious. So a spacious field. It could be a field for anything. We're not going to go into details about that. Those are some examples in terms of gender. They have to match. And obviously we know in Arabic, gender doesn't necessarily mean male, female. It means it even relates to inanimate objects. Next thing they have to correlate with is, or correlate and be identical, is the definite versus indefinite. So for example, if we take the previous example we had, which was Baytun kabirun, simple example, big house. Baytun kabirun. We can't have al-baytu kabirun, because that's not na'at man'ut, and that's really an important point over here. So let's look at how the two of them can differ. You can have al-baytu kabirun, which is actually a correct sentence, but that means the house is big. So this is a complete sentence. But if we're going to describe the house as an adjective, as a na'at, it will be al-baytu, al-baytul kabiru. Now this is an incomplete sentence. So you have to add something to it to make it a complete sentence, because this means the big house. So then you have to say, I don't know, al-baytul kabiru hunak is there. Or al-baytul kabiru amam al-masjidi, or in front of the masjid. So you have to complete the sentence. It's an incomplete sentence. If you remember before, we used to describe things as jumla mufida and jumla ghayr mufida, which means a sentence, a useful sentence or a valuable sentence or a sentence with an actual complete meaning versus a jumla ghayr mufida. This one is a complete sentence. The house is big. This one is an incomplete sentence. The big house what? We have to add something to it. Okay. So when you're talking about na'at man'ut, so if you see it written as al-baytun, al-baytu kabirun, it's a complete sentence. That is not na'at man'ut. This is mubtada, and this is khabar. So it's not na'at man'ut. Here, on the other hand, al-bayt is also mubtada because it's the beginning of the sentence, but kabir is not khabar. The khabar will be here. And the way to remember that is, if you eliminate the na'at, which is the adjective, the sentence still makes sense. So if we remove kabir from this, al-baytu hunak, the house is there, it still makes sense. Okay? However, here, al-kabiru is now, as you know, sentences make more sense when you describe things and elaborate on various aspects of it to make it a more useful sentence. Al-kabir here is na'at, and the al-bayt is a mubtada, and it is the man'ut. So one word can have more than one grammatical elements to it. Let's get other examples. So the same one, we said baytun kabirun, we change it to al-baytul kabiru. Kitabun, so we had the previous one, which was kitabun qadimun. We make them definite. Al-kitabul qadimu. So you remove one of them, al-kitabul qadimu. Then we have to qualify and explain, complete the sentence, because it's an incomplete sentence. Okay, and this applies whether they were masculine or feminine. So let's go to the previous one. We had sayyaratun jadidatun. So we will say as-sayyara, because the previous one was sayyaratun jadidatun, a new car. Here, as-sayyaratul jadidatu, complete the sentence. Amama bayti, in front of my house, for example. So here they're correlating in terms of gender and the presence of a definite article, which is alif lam. They have to be the same. The other sentence, we had darrajatun jadidatun or darrajatun maksuratun. So darraja was bicycle. Maksura means broken, a broken bicycle. Let's make it definite. Ad-darrajatul maksuratu fi bayti, in my house. Right? Incomplete sentence. Complete the sentence. Okay. Then we had we had wardatun jamilatun, beautiful rose. And these are all indefinite. So when we add the alif lam, it makes it, means we're talking about a specific one we're looking at. So al-wardatul jamilatu fi yadi, for example, in my hand. Okay. So they have to match in definite versus indefinite. We will practice this through the lesson, which always helps. The next thing they have to correlate with is the case. So whether the i'rab is marfu, maksur, or marfu, mansub, or majroor. And we said marfu in general means it's got dhamma in general. And for now, for the early lessons, let's stick with that. Mansub means it's got fatha, and majroor means it's got kasr. So let's go back to the previous ones we had. Baytun kabirun, big house. Both are marfu. They both have dhamma. The other one was, let's take it with the alif lam. Whether it's alif lam or without alif lam doesn't matter. As-sayyaratul jadidatu. So they correlate in terms of alif lam, in terms of gender, and also in terms of the i'rab. They have to be the same. If it's a na'at and man'ut, they have to be the same. And the na'at will change depending upon, its change relies upon the man'ut. So when the noun changes, that will change the adjective. It's not the other way around, because the primary element in the sentence is the noun. The adjective is just an addition, a description. So when the essence changes, the description changes. So let's get some examples regarding that. So we had, let's have bigger sentences and more mufid sentences. So هذا كتاب مفيد. This is a useful book, or literally, this is book useful. So useful or beneficial is a na'at for kitab. And as you can see, it is identical. Both are marfu'. Both have dhamma. And let's take it another step forward. The other example we had was هذا ميدان. This is a field. فسيح. This is a spacious, wide field. Or this is, literally, this is field, spacious. But obviously when we translate into English, this is a wide, spacious field. Now we're going to look at ones where this will change. So these are jumla ismiya. Let's look at a jumla fi'liya, a sentence beginning with a fi'l. qara'tu, I read. Now, if we all remember, let's just a quick review. In a jumla ismiya, hopefully everyone remembers this, you have two elements, mubtada and khabar, and both are marfu', right? Both are marfu', which means both have dhamma, okay? Such as baytun kabirun, mubtada, and this is man'ut, this is na'at. هذا كتاب مفيد, here. هذا كتاب مفيد. Here, هذا is the mubtada, and the khabar is kitabun. The khabar is kitabun. This is a book. This is a book, because that's a complete sentence. Jumla fi'liya has three components. Fi'l, fa'il, maf'ulun bihi. which is the verb. Fi'l is the verb, and that is, if it's past tense, it's usually got a fatha at the end, and we don't call it, we call it mabni because it doesn't change. It's past tense. If it's present tense, it will be marfu. Okay, meaning dhamma. The fa'il is marfu. The maf'ulun bihi is mansub, means it has fatha on it. So a simple example for that will be fataha. So it's mabni with a fatha because it's past tense. Khalidun, so opened. Khalid, meaning Khalid was the one who opened what? Baban. Baban. So it's not babun, it's baban. Rather than babun, baban. So Khalid opened the door, or the door opened, past tense. Khalid did it. And what did he do? He opened the door. That's what he's acting on. Now, if we were to make it present tense, you will say yaftahu. And we said present tense will be dhamma, marfu. So bearing that in mind, so your fi'l will be marfu in the present tense. Your fa'il will always be marfu with the dhamma. And your maf'ul bihi will always be mansub with a fatha. So let's look at this sentence. So qara'tu. Qara'tu kitaban. Read. So this is past tense, read. Tu, I did, meaning I read. So that's your fi'l. The verb is qara'a. Tu, which means me. This is your fa'il. The person doing the reading is me. And the maf'ulun bihi is the book, which is why it is got fatha on it. Okay? So this is a complete sentence. But if we want to elaborate and add an adjective to it, we will add the same word, mufid. Here it was mufid, mufidun, but kitaban, and the adjective, the na'at, must mirror it, mufidan. So qara'tu kitaban mufidan. Okay, I hope that's clear. Let's get another example. Let's use another example. We had made the word maidanun fasihun. So here, maidanun fasihun, which means a big field, a spacious field, a wide field. Let's plug it into a jumla fi'liya, meaning we're going to make it the subject that's being acted upon, meaning the maf'ulun bihi, and we'll make it fatha. So ra'aytu, I saw. So automatically ra'a is your fi'l, tu is the fa'il because that's me, so it's saying I saw. So the fi'l fa'il are covered. Ra'aytu maydanan, I saw a field. That's a complete sentence, but obviously we want to elaborate a bit more on it. Fasih, so the fasihun, which means the wide, the spacious one, becomes fasihan. So I saw a spacious field. Here, this is our maf'ulun bihi, and this is our na'at. So the na'at mirrors the case at the end. Let's try and get another example as well. Here, so we've seen it as marfu, which is tanween dhamma. We've seen i'rab, our na'at man'ut. We've seen examples of it being mansoob with a fatha. Let's also look for examples when it is majroor. So let's have a look. So nadartu. Nadartu. So again, this is fi'l. I saw. Nadara. So to see. To, I did. Nadartu. Or if I'm talking to you, nadarta, you saw. All right. Nadartu fi. Now we all remember harf jar. Any word following it will become majroor. It will become kasra. Nadartu fi kitabin. So it's a complete sentence. You say, I saw it in a book, which literally means I saw it in a book. However, when you're translating it, you'll say, I read it in a book. So you could even say, qara'tu fi kitabin. But we're just trying to review some vocab. Nadartu fi kitabin. I saw it in a book. So this is your nadara, is your fa'il. Fa'il is your tu. But here, the maf'ul bihi will change because of fi. The fi will change the maf'ul bihi from a ban to a bin, because that's a harf jar. And we had mufid. So, qara'tu fi kitabin mufidin. So we have changed the case to kasra. It's actually simple if you remember some of the rules. Let's think about the other one. We had maidanun fasihun. Back here, you have maidanun fasihun. Let's make it kasra. So we'll say, I ran in a big field. So, jaraytu, or you can say jarayta, you ran. For a masculine, or jarayti, you ran for a female. So jaraytu, fa'il, which is jara. Tu is fa'il. Fi. So jaraytu, I ran. Fi maidanin. So I ran in a field. So here we're being non-specific. Fi maidanin. But if we want to add some description to it, fasihin. So I ran in a large field. Let's try and add some more examples to it. Go back to where there's space. So remember the word al-warda. Warda was a rose. So here we're going to add several things to it. We're going to make it, we're going to add definite, and we're going to add feminine, and we're going to start changing the i'rab. So remember we said wardatun, which means flower. Jamilatun, the one we'll start off with. So beautiful flower. Let's start off with the simple one, which is the marfu'. Tafattaha. So tafattahat means it opened, or it blossomed, or bloomed. Tafattaha. But we know when we're adding an alif lam, this normally will be tafattahat. Al-wardatu al-jamilatu. Tafattahat al-wardatu al-jamilatu. However, when you are saying it and you have an alif lam after a sukoon on the ta, you will add a kasra. So it'll become tafattahatil Wardatul jamilatu. So here we've got an example of marfu with feminine and with alif lam. They match in all three of them. Let's build upon that. Qataftu, meaning I picked, when you pick flowers. Qataftu, so fi'l, qatafa is to pick. Tu, I did. So al-warda now has to be, al-warda has to be maf'ulun bihi, which means it has to be fatha. So qataftul wardatu, wardata, and al-jamila will follow it. Al-jamilata. So here, alif lam, feminine, feminine, fatha, fatha. Okay. And if people are wondering why tafattahat is not fi'l fa'il, it's because it's the feminine fi'l only. Fataha is the masculine. Fatahat is the feminine. So that's not adding a fa'il. The fa'il is warda. And then a final example using kasra will be nadhartu, I saw. Ila, now literally it means I saw to al-warda, al-wardatil jamilati. So literally it means I saw, so fi'l, nadhara, to fa'il, so that's marfu, marfu. Or nadhara is actually mabni, not marfu. To is marfu, so that's me. Ila is your harf jar, so the word following it has to be kasra. So nadhartu ila al-warda, literally translated means I looked at a flower. Or just when we're translating it properly, I saw a flower. And when you add al-jamila, which is the na'at, it will follow it in terms of the maksur, the kasra. So they have to all correlate. I think those examples should suffice for na'at man'ut. And I understand it may be a lot to take in, but actually, as we're reading through the chapter, it should make a lot more sense, inshallah. Moving on. Next, we're going to briefly talk about special adjectives that actually don't follow these rules. Now, that doesn't mean the nouns should alter their rules. It just means these don't follow the rules. So, for example, kaslanun, kaslanu. It's always kaslanu. It's never kaslanun. So the words that end with an don't have tanween. Okay. So kaslan, well, it means lazy. Jaw'an. Jaw'anu means hungry. Atshanu, which means thirsty. There are many words. We won't get all of them, but we'll get a significant amount of them. Ghadbanu, which means angry. Mal'anu, which means full. So you'll say the glass is full. Al-ka'su mal'anu. You can also say shab'anu, This one is more when you're saying I am full or I'm stuffed. So same meaning, but slightly different context. Then you have na'sanu, which means sleepy. And then you have ta'banu, which means tired or exhausted. Now, there are other words that have the same meaning, but these are just to give you an example of the ones where these rules don't apply. They remain asmanu. They don't have a tanween. They stay in this state. Ta'ban or tired, you can also say murhaqun, but those rules don't apply to. That's a normal word, murhaqun. Okay, and we'll see the development of these in the lesson, inshallah. Relative pronoun. So this is a section that talks about relating to sentences. So alladhi literally is translated to the word who or whom. So I mean, the best way to understand it is with a sentence. So let's have a sentence. Al-baytu alladhi amam, not imam, amam al-masjidi. So the house which is, so here it is which is rather than who is, which is amam al-masjidi, in front of the masjid, lil imami, belongs to the imam. So al-bayt alladhi, the house which is amam al-masjidi, in front of the masjid's incomplete sentence. What about it? So you have to give something more. Lil imami, belongs to the imam. And you may have noticed another rule, because we have the word al-imam. Al-imam, when you add a li to it, you eliminate this alif and you make it lil imami. So whenever there's a lam, meaning a belonging to lam, a harf jar lam, when that's added to a word with alif lam, you eliminate the alif and you join the li to the lam. And the classic example that we probably read many, many, many times in our life is the word Allah. When we say lillah, meaning belonging to Allah, we don't just eliminate the alif, we even eliminate the other limbs. Lillah. Okay, lillahi. Okay, let's have another example. It's always good to have additional examples. So ar-rajul. Now that was when the word alladhi was which. Ar-rajulu alladhi. So now the man who kharaja min al-masjidi, man who just exited or left the masjid, al-ana, who just now exited the masjid, tajirun shahirun. Okay, he is a very well-known merchant or businessman. Now here they've added another grammatical rule. So what we've just learned about na'at man'ut. So the sentence can end الرجل الذي خرج من المسجد الآن تاجر. The man who just exited the masjid right now is a merchant. But by adding shahir, this is a na'at. So it's a description of tajir, and you can see it is identical in terms of gender and in terms of i'rab, which is the case. The final bit, which we won't dwell on too much, because it will become clearer during the lessons, but it's the word with. Now, with can be عند or مع. And as you read more, you will find some make more sense depending on the context. So let's use an example. المدرس عند المدير. The teacher is with the head teacher. Or المدرس مع المدير. Both are correct, slightly different contexts and meanings. So the first one, al-mudarris عند المدير, it would mean that the teacher is with the head teacher in his office, somewhere specific. But if we were to say al-mudarris مع المدير, it means the teacher is with the head teacher, but he could be anywhere. Okay? So those are the two we're going to pause at, but they will become more clear when we are doing the lessons, inshallah. So now we can move on to the lesson. There's a fair amount that we have to go through, but we can start with the lesson. من هذا الرجل? Who is this man? هو عباس. He is Abbas. Simple. Nothing particularly difficult there. This should be pretty simple for everyone now. So that's saying he is Abbas. And then they're adding what we've learned. Abbasun tajirun. Abbas is a merchant. Now, here, Abbasun tajirun, this is a complete sentence. And here, it's not an adjective. This is a khabar. So this is mubtada. And this is khabar. So he's telling you exactly what he is. He's not, wouldn't be an adjective here in Arabic. The next sentence, on the other hand, is Abbasun, same sentence, tajirun. Abbas is a tajir. He is a merchant, but ghaniyun. Ghaniyun means wealthy, rich. Now, ghani is a adjective of tajir. It's a na'at of tajir. So it's describing what sort of merchant he is. Hamidun mudarrisun. Hamid is a teacher. And this is mubtada khabar, not na'at man'ud. Hamidun mudarrisun jadidun. He is a new teacher. So new here is the na'at. And you can see it's dun. So both of them are marfu'. Ma hadha? What is this? Hadha tuffahun. This is an apple. So this is an apple. Mubtada khabar. At-tuffahu fakihatun. So an apple. The apple is a fruit. And when we add lazizatun to it, it is na'at. Here we're adding the na'at to it, which means it's a delicious fruit. And as you can see, they are identical in terms of gender, so they're both feminine, and in terms of case, which is i'rab, fakihatun lazizatun. Ma dhalika? What is that? Dhalika usfurun. That's a bird or a sparrow. And then next one, al-usfuru ta'iratun saghiratun. A bird or a sparrow is a bird. A sparrow is a bird. So that's mubtada khabar. And here we've got a na'at saghiratun. So we're describing it's a small bird. Al-arabiyyatu lughatun. You know this is mubtada khabar because it's a complete sentence. Arabic is a language. And when you add sahlatun to it, it's describing the language, the easy language. So feminine, marfu. العربية لغة. Again, مبتدا خبر. Yeah. But the na'at here is Jamila. So Arabic is a language, Jamila, beautiful language. And so Jamila is the na'at, and the man'ut is lugha, meaning what it describes or what it qualifies is lugha, which means language. And another example, Ammarun talibun mujtahidun. So Ammar, mubtada, khabar is talib. In itself, that's a complete sentence, but we're saying he's a hardworking mujtahidun. So that's mujtahidun. This is talibun. So even if there is no dhamma on it, you know now that it has to be that because mujtahidun is tanween dhamma. It is marfu'. Wa mahmudun, and mahmud is talibun kaslanu. So here's an example of those ones that do not have tanween. So kaslan, lazy. So talibun kaslanu, not talibun kaslanun. So here we're adding some other examples as well. Man anta, who are you? Ana talibun, I'm a student. A anta talibun jadidun, are you a new student? Naam, ana talibun jadidun. Yes, I am a student, a new student. Because, as you can see, this in itself is a complete sentence, and so is this. Anta talibun, are you a student? Yes. Are you a new student? It's a description. Okay. And now we will move on to the tamarin, which means exercises. Iqra waktub, read and write. And of course, practice your writing. So, Muhammadun talibun qadimun. Muhammad is a student. Oh, we're adding a description. We're adding a na'at. Qadimun, old. Adhalika rajulu, is that man. Mudarrisun jadidun. So jadidun is the na'at. We'll underline all the na'ats. Okay, so is that man a teacher? So that in itself is a complete sentence, but jadid is describing the teacher. Is that man a new teacher? La, no. Huwa tabibun jadidun. He is a new doctor. And again, na'at is jadid and the man'ut is tabib. So we'll underline all of them. هذا درس سهل. This is a lesson easy. So easy is the na'at. عباس تاجر شهير. Abbas is a popular, well-known merchant. So well-known or shahir is the na'at. It's describing tajir, not it's describing both of them. Bilal muhandisun kabirun. So Bilal is a, well, again, big engineer or a well-known engineer, popular engineer, if you're translating it directly to English. And again, kabir is the na'at. Al-Inkliziyatu, English language. Lughatun is language. Sa'batun is a difficult language. So na'at is describing lugha. So sa'ba is describing lugha, which is the na'at. And as you can see, they're both feminine and they're both marfu with dhamma. Anta rajulun ghaniyun. Are you a wealthy man? La. Ana rajulun faqirun. I am a poor man. Al-Qahiratu, which is Cairo. Madinatun kabiratun. Cairo is a city. Cairo is a big city. Na'at. Anta mudarrisun qadimun. Are you an old teacher? La, ana mudarrisun jadidun. No, I am a new teacher. Ahamidun talibun kaslanu, not kaslanun. So, is Hamid a lazy student? La, no. Huwa talibun mujtahidun. He is a hardworking student. Exercise number 2. ضع في الفراغ في الجمل الآتية نعتا مناسبا. So fill in the blanks with appropriate na'at, which means an appropriate adjective. So let's go through it together. Khadijatu, because we said feminine proper nouns never have tanween. Khadijatu talibatun. We can say mujtahidatun. Hardworking. Now, as you can see, the word is mujtahid, which is hardworking. Mujtahidun. But we had to add a ta marbuta to make it feminine because taliba is ta marbuta. Khalidun tajirun ghaniyun. So he is a wealthy merchant. Al-Arabiyyatu, and it's Al-Arabiyyatu, not Arabiyyatun, because there's alif lam there, it's definite. Lughatun sahlatun, easy. Al-Usfuru, which means a sparrow. Ta'irun is a bird. Jamilun, a beautiful bird. Okay. At-tufahu, which is an apple. Fakihatun is a fruit. Lazizatun, so feminine, feminine. Ana mudarrisun jadidun. Muhammadun tabibun mujtahidun. Muhammad is a hardworking student. Al-Inkilisiyatu lughatun sahlatun. A'anta talibun shahirun. Are you a popular student? Al-Qahiratu, Cairo. Madinatun, city. Big. Kabiratun. Okay. And you can practice with, you can go and start looking online and looking for other adjectives and just put them. This is a good way to build up your vocab. Next one, ضع في المكان الخالي في الجمل الآتية منعوتا مناسبا. So here now we need to put the man'ut, which is the word or the noun that's being described by the na'at. So al-Arabiyyatu lughatun, and they're trying to get you to ensure you put the correct case, the correct gender, and the correct whether it's definite or indefinite. Ana, so Arabic is an easy language. Ana talibun qadimun, I am an old student. Ammarun tajirun ghaniyun. Ammar is a wealthy merchant. هذا قلم مكسور. This is a broken pen. فيصل طالب كسلان. Good. اقرأ, so read. كسلان, جوعان, عطشان, غضبان, ملآن, and amongst the others that we also added to it. So these need to be memorized. أنا جوعان, I am hungry. أأنت جوعان, are you hungry? لا أنا عطشان, no, I'm thirsty. لماذا المدرس غضبان اليوم? Why is the teacher angry today? الكوب, the cup, ملآن is full. So the new words that we've learned in this section so far, amongst the additions that we've added, al-lugha, al-lughatu, which is language. Shahirun, popular, well-known. Al-madinatu means city, any city. الطائر, which means bird. اليوم, which means day. كسلان, lazy. جوعان, hungry. عطشان, thirsty. ملآن, full. غضبان, angry. العصفور or عصفور, which means sparrow. The second section, it just adds what we've learned, puts everything we've learned together and adds a few more things such as الذي and ma'a, which we've learned. Okay, so starting with the comprehension. أين المدرس? Where is the teacher? Yeah, and أين, what does أين? أين means where is, and where is أين comes from the word اسم الاستفهام, which means a noun which inquires, so an inquiring noun. Okay, so anything like man, who is, who, ma, what, aina, where, liman, for whom, all of these are ismul istifham, asma istifham. Okay, aina al-mudarrisu, where is the teacher? Huwa fil fasli. I hope everyone remembers fil fasli because it is a fi is a harf jar. وأين المدرس الجديد? So where is the new teacher? So here مدرس الجديد. جديد is your na'at. And as you can see, they both have dhamma, both are marfu, both have alif lam. They are definite. They have to be the same. And by addition of other words to na'at man'ut, you have a complete sentence. So in this case, it's a question. Huwa 'inda al-mudiri. He is with the head teacher. And when you have 'inda or ma'a, the word following it is maksur. So it is treated like mudaf, mudaf ilay. So it will become a mudaf ilay, which is a kasra. Okay, it will be treated like that. أين الطالب الجديد? Where is the new teacher? Again, na'at and man'ut, and they're identical in terms of case, in terms of gender, in terms of definite. ذهب, so where is the new student? ذهب, he went. إلى, so harf jar, which means to. al-maktabati, he went to the bookshop or the library. Man, so again, ismul istifham, man. ذلك الرجل الطويل. So this is putting several things together. So here we've got the linking word, which is who. In this case, it's who, not which. من ذلك الرجل الطويل? Who is that tall man? So tall here is an na'at. It's describing a rajul. So dhamma, dhamma, alif lam, alif lam. Masculine, masculine. So we're getting that. من ذلك الرجل الطويل. Now that in itself is a complete sentence, but we're now going to link another sentence to it by adding alladhi. And alladhi is singular, masculine. And in which case here it will be translated as who or who is. Kharaja, al-ana, left or exited right now. Minal madrasati, from the school. So a proper translation would be, who is that tall man who just left the school? Answer, هو المدير الجديد. هو المدير الجديد. Again, هو المدير is sufficient, but you're adding a na'at to it. الجديد. Both are marfu, both are masculine, and both are definite. ومن الولد الصغير الذي خرج الآن من الفصل? And who is the boy, who is the small boy? So na'at again. الذي, who just left the classroom. So fasli because of man. Min al-fasl. Min is harf jar. Huwa, he is. Ibnul mudiri, he was the son of the head teacher. Al-jadidi, so the new head teacher. And here they are both maksur because of the ibn. Ibnul, son of. Ibn is the mudaf. Mudir is mudaf ilay, so it has to be kasra. And because the na'at follows the rules of the man'ut, it will also be kasra. So jadid will also be kasra, and at the same time it will both be definite and they will both be masculine. Liman tilka as-sayyaratul jamilatu. Whose is? Liman, belonging to who? Tilka. So we said dhalika means that for masculine. Tilka is that for feminine, but both of them are singular. Okay. Liman tilka. And why are we saying tilka instead of dhalika? Because sayyara is feminine. So liman, whose is? Tilka, that. As-sayyaratu, tilka as-sayyaratu. Whose is that car? Al-jamilatu. So now we're adding a na'at to it. We're adding a na'at to sayyara, therefore it will follow its rules. It is feminine, feminine. Definite, definite. Marfu, marfu. هي للمدير الجديد. He, it here it means it, but here means she. But obviously when we're talking about a car, in English we don't translate it to she, we translate it to it. It للمدير belongs to the mudir al-jadidi. So للمدير kasra al-jadidi. Kasra. Alif lam, alif lam. And the jadid is the na'at. And again, reviewing the rule, we have al-mudiri. When you add a li to it, it eliminates the alif and becomes lil-mudiri. Okay. Liman hadha al-kitabu al-kabiru. Same thing. Whose is that this book? Whose is this book? But whose is this big book? So adding another na'at. Same rules. Ahuwa lil-mudarrisi. Is it, or is he, but obviously we don't call a book he. Is it lil-mudarrisi? Does it, is it belonging to the mudarris, to the teacher? La huwa lit-talib al-jadid. No, it is, or it belongs to talibi al-jadidi, the new student. So jadid is the na'at, same alif lam, masculine, and kasra. أين الملعقة الصغيرة? Where is the small spoon? Where is the small spoon? So again here, feminine, feminine, alif lam, dhamma, dhamma. So they're exactly the same. Here fil kubi, it is in the cup. أين الكرسي المكسور? Where is the chair? But which one? The broken chair. So the na'at for it is broken. Huwa hunaka. It is there. Now, you may have remembered that you have seen the word hunaka in the Quran, and you have also seen the word hunalika. Okay, they both mean exactly the same thing, but if we're going very strictly grammatically, they are hunalika means a bit further away. So hunaka is there, hunalika is much more further away. So when you say something is there, this means there. This also means there, but further away. And the way to understand it is, huna is ismul ishara, talking about direction. Huna, ismul ishara, talking about direction. Ka is, when you're talking, it's called al-khitab, meaning directing to something you're talking to. Ka, but adding the lam, the extra lam, is what we called lam lil ba'id. So it's just for distancing it a bit more, saying it's a bit further away. So hunaka and hunalika in general mean exactly the same thing. All you have to do is think about it in terms of hunalika literally specifically means further away than hunak. Right, and the exercises we'll go through swiftly. اقرأ واكتب, read and write. الطبيب الجديد في المستشفى والطبيب القديم في المستوصف. The new teacher is in the hospital and the old teacher is in the mustawsaf, which is a polyclinic, and polyclinic are very, very rampant in the Arab world. Al-qalam al-maksuru, again, na'at is the, now I'll underline all the na'ats just as a review. Al-qalam al-maksuru ala al-maktabi, the broken pen is on the table. Al-mirwahatul jadidatu, the fan, the new fan. So if this is mirwahatu, that has to be jadidatu. Fil ghurfatil kabirati. So two na'ats in this one sentence. So the man'ut is mirwaha here, and the man'ut here is ghurfa, which means room. So the new fan is in the big room. Al-lughatul arabiyyatu, the Arabic language. Sahlatun is easy. So here the na'at is Arabiyya, not Sahla. Al-lughatul Arabiyya, because you can eliminate that and still have a sentence. Al-lughatu Sahlatun, the language is hard, easy, sorry. Al-waladu tawilu, the tall boy. Alladhi, who. Kharaja min al-fasli, who left the classroom. Al-an, now. Talibun is a student. Min al-Kuwaiti, from Kuwait. Ana fil madrasati thanawiyati. I am in the secondary school. Madrasati, because of the fee. So your na'at is thanawiya, so your man'ut is madrasa. ذهب الرجل الفقير إلى الوزير. So here, ذهب, this is your fi'l. الرجل, the man. Now you can have the sentence without the word faqir. So faqir is the na'at. So ذهب الرجل إلى الوزير. The man went to the minister. But here you're adding a little elaboration. Faqir, the poor man. And they relate in everything. جلس الطالب الجديد خلف حامد. Okay, so jalasa, sat. الطالب الجديد, the new student. خلف, behind. حامد, so your na'at is jadidu, because describing the student. السكين الكبير, the knife. كبير, sharp. حاد جدا is sharp, very. So the big knife, that's your na'at, is very sharp. Okay, because again, you can remove kabir and still have a complete sentence. As-sikkinu haddun. You don't even need jiddan, but jiddan, these are just adding extra descriptions. Man هذا الولد القصير. Who is this short boy? ولد القصير. ألف لام ألف لام. So that's your na'at. هو ابن المدرس الجديد. So you could end at ibn al-mudarrisi. He is the son of the teacher. But when you add jadidi, it's the na'at describing al-mudarris. Okay. املأ في الفراغ فيما يلي بالنعت الذي بين قوسين بعد تحليته بألف لام عند اللزوم. So we need to fill in the blanks with the na'at that's between the in the brackets in front of the sentence, after adding alif lam to it where relevant. Okay, so the word here we have is jadidun. أين المدرس? We know we have to add an alif lam because it's a na'at, so you have to have an alif lam like you do there, and we will convert it to al-jadidu and not jadidun. So where is the new teacher? At-tajiru al-kabiru fi suqi is in the shopping center or in the shops. Ana, so we have to make sure here they're trying to really get you to think about it and convert things to alif lam or not where relevant, convert things to masculine, feminine, and so on. Ana talibun, I am a student. Qadimun, here it doesn't need to change. You cannot say alif lam to it because it will change the context. You can't say ana talibun al-qadimun. That's wrong. Ana talibun qadimun. Jalasa talibu. So the student sat. Al-jadidu. Here we will add alif lam. Al-jadidu khalfa Muhammadin. Behind Muhammad. Manil walad. So here there's alif lam. At-tawilu. So we have to add it here. At-tawilu. Alladhi. Where is the tall boy? Sorry, who is the tall boy? Alladhi. Who? Kharaj al-ana. Just left. Min al-fasli. From the classroom. But obviously when we're translating that to English, we would say, who is the tall boy who left the classroom right now? Ammarun waladun qasirun. So Ammar is a short boy. Here you don't add alif lam because there's no alif lam there. Faisalun tabibun shahirun. Similarly, you don't need to change that. So I'm not going to write it. Liman hada sarir. Here you've got alif lam. Liman hada sarir. Whom does this bed belong to? But we're adding maksur, broken. So we'll say al-maksuru, not maksurun, al-maksuru, because it has got an alif lam. So it's alif lam. It is single dhamma, and it's masculine. هذا قلم مكسور. You don't need to add alif lam to that. أين السكين الحاد? Where is the sharp knife? لمن هذه السيارة? Whose is this سيارة? So it's a full sentence, but it's alif lam. So it has to be Jamila. I would have preferred that they didn't write Jamila. They just wrote Jamil, and they were treating you, expecting you to convert it. So that would be, definitely will be Jamila, but this has got alif lam, so we have to add alif lam. Al-Jamilatu. Liman hadhihi as-sayyaratu jamilatu. Whose, to whom does this beautiful car belong to? Okay, so just recapping. Iqra, read. At-talibu, the student. Alladhi, who. Kharaja min al-fasl al-an min Indonesia. Who just left the room, is from Indonesia. Now, here, Indonesia is what we call mamnu' min as-sarf. It does not change. Foreign names do not change, and they don't follow the rules of becoming kasra, because Indonesia can't become kasra. Other place. So various foreign names cannot change, and there are obviously some exceptions to it, as always. Al-kitab, the book. Alladhi, which. Ala al-maktabi, is on the table. Lil mudarrisi, belongs to the teacher. Now, recapping. Al-mudarris, lam, you eliminate that and you become lil mudarrisi. Okay. Liman hadha al-qalamu al-jamilu? Whose, or to whom, does this beautiful pen, so there's your na'at, al-qalamu al-jadid jamilu, whom does it belong to? Alladhi, which is ala al-maktabi, on the table. And here, alladhi means which rather than who. Al-baytul kabiru, so here we've got a na'at. Kabir is the big house. Alladhi, which is fi, in dhalika shari'i, in that street. Lil waziri, lil wazir, belongs to the wazir. Now, for those who don't remember, why does ash-shari' have kasra? Because it's relating to harf jar. Now, the word immediately following the harf jar, which is fi, is dhalika. But ذلك is what we call an ismul ishara. Okay, and any word that follows ismul ishara that has an alif lam, like ash-shari' here, it must follow the rule where the ismul ishara, like dhalika, has taken its place. So for example, dhalika, because it cannot be fatha, kasra, dhamma, it's just standard dhalika. It's just fatha. Dhalika shari'u. What should dhalika be? Dhalika should be a mubtada, which means it has to be marfu'. Therefore, the word that follows it with alif lam has to be marfu'. So any change that dhalika would have encountered, or hadha, or hadihi, or any ismul ishara, that rule will be transmitted to the word that follows it with an alif lam. So for example, if I have fi before dhalika, in essence, dhalika should have a kasra, but dhalika doesn't have a kasra. It can never have a kasra. So that will be transferred to the word following it. So it will become fi dhalika shari'i. Okay, and we will build up more on this. And this word that follows the ismul ishara is called badal, meaning instead of. Okay. السرير الذي في غرفة, the bed الذي, which في غرفة is in في غرف, it normally would be في غرفة, but here we have غرفة خالد. خالد is مضاف إليه for غرفة, and we knew that this can be tanween, but a mudaf can never be tanween. So that will convert the غرفة to a غرفة. في غرفة خالد. Because that is now, غرفة is mudaf for the Khalid. And its غرفة is kasra, not fatha or dhamma, because of the fi before it. So if we were to just break that apart, غرفة, غرفتun. That's what the word is in general. غرفتun. Let's have it down here to make it clear. غرفتun. So غرفتun means any room. If we add a mudaf ilayh to it, so a further description of it, a mudaf which is a possessor and a possessee. So whose how can you make the word ghurfa, which is a room, into someone's specific room or a specific room? You can add alif lam to it. So you can call it al-ghurfatu, and that means the tanween changes to a single. Or you can add a mudaf ilayh to it, which also describes a possessor of that, someone whom it belongs to. So you can say ghur fa, and in both cases the tun becomes a tu. That's why it can never be ghurfatun khalidin. So let's say we've added Khalid to it, so it's Khalid's room. Therefore, it's become definite, but it's become definite with the presence of a mudaf ilayh. Therefore, this is now single dhamma. It cannot be ghurfatun khalidin. It will always become specific. So when we make something specific, the i'rab changes to a single. Now, in this case over here, we have fi ghurfati khalidin. This is step one. It's its essence, ghurfatun. Step two, we've added a mudaf ilayh, made ghurfatu khalidin. Step three, we're adding another word before it, which is harf jar, and therefore khalidin doesn't change, but ghurfa changes from ghurfa to khalidin to ghurfati khalidin. Okay, and that's the way to sort of just break it down to try and work it out. Okay, and right, so if we were to summarize learning outcomes, we've learned a sufficient amount about na'at man'ut, which is adjectives, and the rules regarding to their relating to their gender, definitive versus definite versus indefinite, and the i'rab. Okay, and the i'rab in general, as we said, is either marfu, mansoob, maksur. And then we spoke about some special adjectives such as kaslan, lazy, and so on, and that they don't have a tanween, they end with kaslanu, for example. We learned about the word alladhi, which is either means who or whom or which for an inanimate object, but it's always masculine. Okay, and just a little spoiler, when we're talking about feminine version of this, it will be allati. Okay, and that's still singular, but it's feminine. We learned a bit about inda and ma'a, and that would be the conclusion. The vocab, please ensure that we have learned the vocab, because going ahead we will be building upon a lot of vocab, but it's important to try and remember the ones that we have learnt. And just to add to some of these ones on the right, we also had na'sanu, which means sleepy. We had ta'banu, which is tired or exhausted. And we also know that the other word for, one of the other words for tired or exhausted is murhaqun. Okay. And we also learned that while mal'an means full, if you're saying I am stuffed or I'm full, you will say shab'an. So it also means full, and it's the same context. Okay, since we've discussed a fair bit of fruit, so we said fruit over here is fakiha, so al-fakihatu, or fakihatun, or fawakih, which is plural, fawakihun. Vegetables is khudrawatun. Okay, that's vegetables. And a few other words that was worth adding. We've learned about various things. We learned about a glass, which is a kubun, but there's also other words for it, so you will see it. Katsun, which means glass. And you will see kubun, which we've learned already. And that's usually cup. And you can see they're quite relevant, quite related. And you can also say fin, but you can use them interchangeably. Finjanun. Finjanun, which means, again, cup, glass, and so on. Another word worth adding, because we're talking about a fan over here. It's always good to add a few words to it. So we have fan, which is mirwaha, and air conditioning is mukayyifun. Okay. Jazakallah khair for your attention. Inshallah, we will continue with another lesson, which will be uploaded shortly, inshallah. Any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. And Jazakallah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.